Welcome to a brand new week. And so it's time to start another round of 55 minutes of relevant and current business conversations here on Business Morning, a fresh one. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Imi John Rekwa. We hope to make this week worth the while for you. I will begin by making every second count. So let's tell you this week what's going on the oil space. We see prices slid more than $1 on Monday as diplomatic efforts grew over the weekend to contain the conflict between Israel and Palestinian Islamist group Hamas, although Gaza continues to be bombarded. Brent crude futures fell 79 cents to $91.37 a barrel, having lost $1.02 to $91.14 a barrel earlier in the session. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures also dropped 91 cents at $87.17 a barrel after sliding $1.72 to $87.03 a barrel earlier on Monday. The contract had risen more than 1% last week for a second consecutive weekly jump on fear of potential supply disruption if the Israel-Hamas war grows into a wider confrontation in the Middle East, which is the world's biggest oil supplying region. Aid convoys started to arrive in the Gaza Strip from Egypt over the weekend as Arab leaders and foreign ministers gathered for a summit in Cairo, which was unable to yield a joint statement. In the latest development, Israel bombarded Gaza and its aircraft struck Lebanon. Asian shares drifted low on Monday to ease oil supply pressure, already tight due to output cuts by Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and affiliates, including Russia. The U.S. suspended sanctions on OPEC member Venezuela after a Venezuelan government deal with the opposition. And now to the grain space. Now, let me just let you see the numbers right there. You can see on the screen. We see that Chicago wheat was largely unchanged on Monday, as we see there, remain at $6 for a bushel, unchanged there. And that's the highest amount since last week, as rains in key southern hemisphere producers, Australia and Argentina, boosted supply prospects. Corn edge higher and soybeans slid for a second consecutive week. The weather on Australia's east coast has been favorable for wheat. Corn CVI added, as we can see right there, $4.96 for a quarter of a bushel, while soybeans lost 0.4% to $12.97 for three-quarters of a bushel. Recent rains across key Australian wheat growing areas are likely to increase yields, adding several millions of tons to a crop that had been hit by dry weather and boosting the global supply outlook. Heavy rains, drenched drought hit agricultural regions across Argentina over the weekend. The National Meteorological Service has said and raises hopes for better wheat condition in the South American country. For soybeans, China's import of the oilseed from Brazil rose in September by 23% from a year earlier, according to data showed on Friday, after a huge drop produced by the South American nation this year continued to reach the world's top buyer. Large speculators increased their net shorts position in CBOT corn futures in the week to October 17th. According to regulatory data, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission's weekly commitment of traders report also shows that non-commercial traders, which is a category that includes hedge funds, trimmed their net short position in CBOT wheat and soybeans. Well, back here in Nigeria, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Mr. Abubakar Kyari, is expressing concerns over the contribution of the livestock subsector to the nation's economy. This is, as he says, that its contribution to the gross domestic product from the agricultural sector currently stands at 10%. He was speaking at a meeting organized by the Veterinary Council of Nigeria in the capital, Abuja. The minister explains that with the council's launch of the National Veterinary Practicing License, the veterinary seal, as well as the geo-mapping of veterinary practices across the country, the sector may just experience a boost in production soon.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people don't look at livestock and poultry as food security, but it's one of the biggest providers of protein in our diet. So a healthy livestock and a healthy poultry means healthy diet, and which is also translates to a healthy person. As the saying goes, you are what you eat. So this is very I'm very happy to be here to launch these various technological advances in the veterinary community. Innovation is the key here. We need to use the ICT platform to innovate and make life easier. So when you have an app now, it means you can get information and get access to this platform more easily than having a big register to go through. So like it was explained, you can actually look at somebody's ID card and get their VCN number, and also just immediately through the app try find the background of that particular person. And that would, stop quackery, like we all said here. Quackery is one of the most dangerous things we find in the medical circle.
So now let's delve into the matter of today. The first one is the issue that, according to the International Monetary Fund, could create economic opportunities, resilience, and growth. Sounds like what we would really like to know. By improving policies related to financial services, the world can enhance investment, efficiency, and also safeguard the vulnerable against adverse shocks. And what are we talking about? This is financial inclusion. It's a term, obviously, that's commonly said, but what about commonly done? Well, let's see how financial inclusion can help to lead to resilience, which is what the world is asking for. I mean, in the IMF World Bank meetings that just concluded in Morocco, the talk there was about building resilience, because we are in a time of shock now, and more shocks are expected globally to the economy in the nearest future. We don't know when, but it's certain that we'll have shocks. So how can financial inclusion help to be resilient, help economies to be resilient and stand against shocks, both the present one and the upcoming one? We'll have joining us to discuss this a member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria Subcommittee on Agent Banking Certification Program, Mr. Fashasi Sarafaddin. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So this issue of financial inclusion,
yes.
Well, we're talking about it. We've been talking about it for years,
yes.
Does it look like Nigeria has an intentional strategy to achieve it, financial inclusion?
Yeah, very well, very well. I think financial inclusion has a sort of relationship with poverty eradication, because when you have access to financial services, then the probability of being out of poverty is high. Before now, I think a lot of people are hiding cash under their pillows, especially in the rural areas. And when you look at Nigeria as a country, it's a bit peculiar, because largest population are actually unbanked. They are in the rural areas. So you need to structure and take financial access points close to them. So that is, we make them to do their savings digitally, and it will also allow them to have access to digital credits and to boost their own trading. Because I know that the major challenge people at the rural area, the major challenge they have is actually there is no feasibility to their transaction. So we always assume they are poor. We always assume that they are not productive. Whereas a typical trader in the rural area, you can benchmark his revenue to a director in the ministry.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you can benchmark it. But unfortunately, we don't have that facility.
You know a lot of things we do not know without
Yes.
You can benchmark.
So, yes.
I mean, because a lot of them are petty traders, farmers, smallholder farmers, who do not even have equipment, to boost their production or even to boost their trade, So, I mean, But when we look around, we see that there's been some penetration,
Very well.
fintechs,
Very well.
POS, you know, and things like that. So
very well.
I don't know if we're doing, if
Yes, we are pushing very well. As at we had a target of financial inclusion strategy in Nigeria.
Who had this target?
CBN rolled out this target. They call it financial inclusion strategy. It was rolled out in 2012. With a target of by year 2020, we want to hit 80% financial inclusion. But as of today, we are still juggling around 64% financial inclusion in Nigeria. So, but I think we are doing well. We are above, we are close to the target. And majorly now, you will observe that you can find all those channels of delivery. You mentioned POS agents, you mentioned digital fintechs, solutions here and there. They have actually been able to assist to drive financial inclusion. There is hardly no rural area where you can't find POS agent today.
Just that you might have to go a bit of distance,
yes,
or you may have to pay more.
More, yes, because of their own cost to serve too. So you have to, because Nigeria is a very complex country, terrain in terms of geography. And you will be shocked that there are a lot of local government without the former financial institution. No single financial institution in a local government, a lot of local governments in Nigeria.
And that's because there's no motivation for them to go there.
Because you can't actually be productive. And security concern is also a challenge. But a lot of banks in Nigeria, they have been innovative about deployment of agents now to cover those gaps. So an agent location is also simply the same as a banking location, because most of activities in the banking area, especially the retail segment of banking system, has now been outsourced to agents. So at agent location, you can open an account, you can cash out, you can do enumeration, you can do national identity. In fact, a lot of agents, there are a lot of dynamics in agent services today. You can also, you know, they are being used for cash disbursements. Because there is a level at which digital transaction can end in Nigeria, considering the fact that digital transaction leverage on internet penetration. And as of today, we are having about 55% internet penetration in Nigeria. That means more than about 50% of Nigerians are out of reach of internet penetration. So you can use agent to actually, you know, shock that access. And that is why CIBN, I'm glad that CIBN is saying, oh, we have over 1.7 million agents across the country today. It is now time to transform them from that quantity to quality so that they will know what they are doing. You upgrade their knowledge. So, and they will be able to do the right thing. Because it's not really about access alone. It's also about the quality of the access you have.
So it sounds like at first we used to use infrastructure as an excuse, but
yes,
we found a way to go around the infrastructure.
Well.
But I wonder at what cost?
It is at a very cheap cost because you only need about to roll out a terminal, a POS terminal, which is today, it is around about $100, $70 that you can actually use that to set up an agent to service more than 500,000 population in a rural community. So I think it's cost effective. In fact, most of the banks are even trying to shut down their branches that are actually in the rural and deploy agents. It's more cost effective to run through agent locations.
And employing some hands, I see.
In fact, huge hands. Because what we see today is you only see an agent location and think that transaction ends at that point. It doesn't end at that point. There are a reconciliation team at the back end that are looking at how much you pay out, how much did you actually eat your account. And if customers are also having challenges about complaints, how do we resolve their complaints? Because trust is very important. When people visit agent location and they have maybe technology glitch in terms of decline transactions, they should be comfortable that without having had to travel miles, kilometers, to the nearest bank branch, leaving their rural terrain, they can actually resolve it at the agent location. So there is a need for that too. And that has created customer service jobs. So you have reconciliation jobs. And in fact, you even have auditors that are going around agent location that are auditing them. So, and when you look at the financial inflows into Africa, in year 2022. The highest actually landed in fintech. And Nigeria actually, suck more percentage out of that in Africa.
So the issue of complaints.
Yes.
I don't think I hear a lot of it, but maybe it's just me. I know then when in fact, I spoke to some individuals who were scared of going into the POS agency business because of the issue of reconciliation and complaints and, transaction declined on one end but goes through on one end. But that seems to have reduced.
Yes, it has actually improved. I think we should give kudos to the industry stakeholders, the CBN, the NAPES. We have grown.
But we haven't reached where Kenya is.
We are running different model in terms of implementation of financial inclusion. The first mistake we made when we started financial inclusion drive in Nigeria was to go and replicate what was obtainable in Kenya by M-PESA, case study, and copy and paste into Nigeria's system. But Nigeria is a different setting entirely. And luckily enough, Nigerian actually come up with his own model, which is what we call Kiko agent, the cash in, cash out agent. So agent banking in Nigeria, which is, delivering financial services through third party, actually thrive in Nigeria than the wallet system, which thrive in Kenya. Kenya today, they are more of wallet-to-wallet system. In Nigeria, we are more of physical channel because Nigerian people believe in see Mary, see Bible. They don't want a situation where you transfer to them and they cannot trace and they cannot. And also, Kenya has highest level of internet penetration. They prepared for it. We never prepare for it. So, and the cash flow, the circular flow of income from Kenya in terms of spending is different. In Kenya, people need to send money to their family in the rural areas. In Nigeria, we move our family, our grandmother to the cities to come on. So we really don't need a wallet to wallet. It's a different terrain, it's a different system. I think we got it right now, and that is why they are supporting that Kiko network and international organizations. They are also studying our model now. That, why is it that in Ghana it is mobile money? Why is it in Tanzania it's mobile? But in Nigeria, it's more of, Nigeria is the highest consumer of POS terminals in the world. So you will see that we have been able to evolve our own different model. And that has also helped us to create over 1.7 million jobs. There is no sector that has created that jobs in the last 5 years. So we are proud about that, and we are happy that CIBN, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, now introduce a certification program for agency banking so that we can equip them and upgrade their knowledge, because there are a lot of dynamism in agent services now. It's no longer cash payments. In fact, enrollments, NIN enrollments, they involve, NIMC involved private partners some 2 years ago. Before now, the government structure, NIMC, were able to only register about 45 million Nigerians. When they involve the agents, when we onboarded agents for them, in fact, we have hit over 100 million NIN enrollment as of today. But it is at a cost. It is because we observed that there was no yardstick for them to really recruit which agent to enable, which agent not to enable. So when you review their submission, you observe a lot of infractions. In fact, last week, NIMC had to suspend that transaction in agent location for them to be able to review it. We are now saying that, luckily enough, CIBN has introduced this certification process to take them through the needful. Let us have professionals among all these 1.7 million. Then these professionals can handle NIN effectively because they will understand what it takes to really run that kind of enrollment activities. And also in agri sector, I am a trained extension agent. I discovered that even extension agents today, they are doing more of agency banking because there are farmers projects. You have to enroll them. You have to open an account for them. So there is a relationship for them. So we also need to actually upgrade their own knowledge too. We were reviewing the submission of some of extension agents, and we discovered that instead of mapping the farmland. They were actually submitting football feed when we reviewed it. So that means there is a need for industry to really be able to separate which one are qualified among these 1.7, which one can actually take this access to the last mile. Most of the banks have suspended account opening at agent locations because of infractions. But now, with CIBN certification, they will be sure that they are well trained.
CIBN certification,
yes.
I mean, that you're talking about.
Yes.
How much of exposure and training are you giving to these agents? Because it's one thing for you to say, oh, you're certified.
Yeah.
But it's another thing for them to really have the ability, the skill to handle, troubleshoot and all of that.
Yeah, very well. You are very right. And I want to confirm to you, and that is why CIBN has taken this so long to introduce this program. So they have been able to garner all this. It's not an academic exercise. They have been able to actually recruit, you know, the players, people that have experienced it, people that have set up locations. So it is a practical experience. There is something on that curriculum. They call it experiential learning. Experiential learning has to do with come and do it the way you are doing it in the jungle. Let us see it. Experiential learning also involves bringing security agents to come and actually display and, let us know the use cases of the fraud in agent location. So let us see how you have been able to uncover it, how you have been able to resolve it. So it's more of practical, certification than conventional.
How long?
Yeah, it is just a normal module of 3 months.
I learned it to cost about 30,000.
It's a normal price of 30,000, 33,000 to register and become a certified.
And then to qualify, it's a school cert. Yes.
Yeah, it's a school cert because we realize that most of people that are actually practicing that are in this industry of agency banking, that is the level. They are informal people. So you have to drive it with informal strategy. We can't be demanding for IS degree for them to be able to, because anybody can actually handle it if well and properly trained.
Okay, so you did talk about issue around agriculture,
yes.
And all of that. And back here in Nigeria, we've been talking about how to have a coordinated development. You talked about NIMC.
Yes.
Are you working with these other,
yes.
arms
yes.
to ensure that, you're doing yours and they're also doing theirs?
Yes.
It brings distortion to the system.
You are very right. That is what the industry stakeholders have been working on, to bring everything together. You don't go to agent location and only cash out. You have to be able to do everything at that agent location. And that is what we have in India. In India today, you don't need to go to an agency to go and do your national identity number. Everything is done at agent location. And that is what is being implemented in Nigeria today. And on the other sectors too, I discovered that almost all sectors, because database is a challenge. Imagine federal government is trying to push out some funds to the poor people. And there are critics of that database. Today, agent location can actually verify BVN using special app and, onboard all these poor people that you are targeting. You can't get a database of poor people through politicians or through ministry.
Who says we can even trust these agents you're talking about? Anybody can be bribed, anybody can be bought over.
Okay, I
anybody
agree with
can
you.
divert to their family and friends.
I agree with you, but the reality is that technology has made it so difficult for you to manipulate data gathering. Because, number one, today there are artificial intelligence inbuilt in fintech solutions that you cannot capture people twice. Unlike what we used to have in the past. I participated in deploying agents for the former government disbursement of conditional cash transfer in part of the country. And I discovered that the names there, you will just discover that these things are fake when you are seeing Alpha, Munirat. You will understand that these names are not just real. But today, you can actually verify, and you can't have two BVNs. And in a situation where you have poor people without BVN, that agent will enroll that poor person immediately. Because the agent, an individual agent now has all what it takes to register. If you don't have NIN, an agent location can actually enroll you on NIN so that you can actually benefit from this. So it's as simple as decentralizing this, involve private partners, agent locations, and let us do the magic for Nigeria, because fintech has done magic in Nigeria.
but in reality, yes, how much conversation goes on between the private sector when it comes to fintech and arms like NIMSI? We have our passport, we have our driver's license. You know, we've been complaining a lot about how data is captured here and is captured here and is captured here. How much conversation on how to coordinate the system goes on?
I think there are a lot of conversations going on. We only need the willpower to be able to, because when you are harmonizing, also remember you are taking some people also out of survivor, out of the system. So, and those are the segments that we want to actually frustrate that process. But an intelligent government will see how you can actually factor all players into that harmonization you are trying to do. So we are working together, and I'm happy that going by what we are seeing from digital economy, what we are seeing from NITDA, what we are seeing from even NIMC, and I think they are working towards resolving this, multi-identity process. Currently, we have a job to deploy and enumerate about 30 million traders in Nigeria under the FRS VAT, direct VAT initiative in the road. So we are telling them that you don't need to be taking fingerprints again. So let people come up, use their BVN, use their NIN, let it verify, send their data, and they are captured. So it's as simple as that. So we need to start to actually discourage multiple duplication of identity registration. We need to harmonize it. I remember that, because where we are going is actually far. It's not about generating the name that matters. It's also about sharing the database with all the critical sectors of the economy. If I walk into my hotel in Kigali today, I don't need anything that will supply my national identity if I'm a citizen. And that's fine, they will lodge me in. If I have a guest that is coming in, my guest will not come in until he or she submits the NIN. So until we get to that level, when we see road safety running after offenders, you don't need to run after them, because your plate number should have been synchronized with your identity number, so that what you just need is to take a picture of the plate number, then you know that person to his residence. And there is a huge opportunity in technology today. Do you know that even address verification, as you are changing your residence, address verification, if has been captured in the NIN, it keeps also updating and changing. If you relocate from Kaduna to Kavancha, from Kaduna to Habia, it actually changed from the database. So we have a long way to go. We just need to, move. And I can see that we are celebrating when we hit 100 million enrollment. And we are still going to 100 million. So we shouldn't just...
Let's not relax
No, we don't have to.
But, I can just imagine issues of mortgage, of loan, of credits, ratings of individuals. So many businesses that can be started if we actually have appropriate data, updated data of individual. I think it will go a long way to change the face of doing business. Housing is a major one also, because you complain of mortgage and people, banks can hardly trust people enough. Some people have been blacklisted in one set of banking, maybe in the microfinance, and they go to another arm, and it all brings issues to the economy.
Actually, like you said, that's one of the focus of this government, hearing the agenda from day one, that they want to run more of a credit economy, that you don't have to carry all the cash you have in this world to go and buy an article that you can actually spread over the time. And I hope they pursue that aggressively. If they pursue that, corruption will be a thing of the past. Because if I get a job today and I have access to mortgage, why should I go and run after, embezzlement? I will just, apply based on my appointment, and I will spread it over the years. So it makes life easy and make financial inclusion easy for everyone. So national identity number and digital is going to ride is the driver of the digital economy. And we have to leverage on this so-called agent network, on this so-called, financial inclusion, the fintech solutions. So we are encouraging all agents. Let them just put in for this and visit my ABC, .ng, register, read more about it, and
yeah. So it's true what the IMF said, that with financial inclusion, you have huge economic opportunities and employment opportunities. So thank you so much for your time this morning. A member of CIBN Subcommittee on Agent Banking Certification Program. I must say, CIBN is really pushing for this program. We wish you success. Does it have a closing date, though?
Yes, by November 14, the first set of application we end. So by November 14th.
And then I think based on the reaction or response, then you know what to do next.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Shafaruddin, for your time this morning.
Thank you, madam, for having me. Thank you, Nigerians.
Let's take a break. When we come back, the program continues here on Business Morning on Channels Television. Welcome back to Watching Business Morning right here on Channels Television. Now we head to the markets now to do a bit of review of what happened last week at the markets in Nigeria. If you could have that on the board there, you have it there. But we can say that last week was not a very good one, especially for equities. Well, we look for a brighter week this week, especially for the fixed income. We do have that auction coming up on Wednesday, Nigerian breweries and others. Okay, this is it. This is what happened last week. It was a red one. We saw a lot of profit taking on some major stocks, and all share dropped for the week at 0.42%, almost half. And then we see that the equities cap at 36.764 trillion naira. Well, some major companies shed off their share prices. Nigerian Breweries, IBTC, 3 other companies lost. That was one of the headlines. 156, for 5 of them lost 156 billion naira of their shares. I guess it's profit taking a whole lot of that. Volume was positive at the close of it, 1.8%, while value was down, as well as deals down. Value closed at 24.28%. It was negative, or as I've said earlier, investors are looking for safe haven. And it's very interesting in Egypt. You know, we did, I don't know if you watch Business Incorporated, we told you about what's happening right there. The EGX30 booming because one of the condition requirement that IMF has given Egypt is devaluing their currency. And so because of that, people are running to a place they see as safe haven, and the NGX seems to be a safe haven. So obviously those are domestic investors right there. Well, let's see the other there. About 13 of the 20 indices closed negative, you know, so it was not. But I mean, some companies did also advance. I know, like Julius Berger gained at the close of the week last week, so it wasn't all gloomy and all bad. And who knows, with the profit taking of last week, perhaps this week will be a booming week. We'll see investors getting right there to try to get some bargain. Right. So banking was positive, however, 3.52%. Consumer goods dropped 0.46%. Industrial goods, insurance, I think, was worse hit, almost 1% in the red at the close of trade. Oil and gas marginally down at the close of trade. There are the top trades for the week. UBA, Fidelity, and Access Bank. No wonder the banking sector closed positive. The most liquid, I guess, that's where people run to when they want to get money and when they want to make money. The banking always comes out. So let's see the other market for the top gainers, Thomas Watts, DAS Communication, at least our industry, is also, and there you see that Julius Berger talked about, gained at the close of the week more than 9%. So if you ran into that safe haven, then at the close of last week, you had your money had gone up about 9%. I don't know what will happen this week. Let's see the others. All right. There you have it. Top losers: Sovereign Insurance, Cadre, Stanbic. Remember, we told you that Stanbic is one of those 5 companies that lost 156 billion naira at the close of trade last week. The shares fell by more than 13% in the 7 days, from 80 naira started with to 69 naira 55 kobo for a share. So shareholders lost about 10 naira 45 kobo on every share. Well, we hope Stanbic will do better this week. The outlook for the week, DMO is to hold that auction on Wednesday. 108.13 billion worth of maturities to be rolled over. And then for the treasury bills, lower yields anticipated. And for the bonds, yields in federal government bonds, secondary market to remain elevated. There you have it. But I'm sure our eyes will certainly be on Wednesday, the 25th, to see how that comes out at the close of that trade. So that's it for the markets. Let's head to London, where Juliana is standing by. Juliana, good morning. I hope you had a restful weekend. Good to have you this Monday.
Good morning, Ini. Small rest, but we keep going.
It's never enough. I can tell you that from experience, Juliana. But let's just head straight to the business for the week. First of all, obviously, when they say higher for longer, higher interest rate for longer, it's not just for individuals or corporations. The government also has to pay more for debt and debt servicing. And we see that hitting the UK government too.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's a very fractious geopolitical environment at the moment. Of course, things have been made worse by what's happening in the Middle East, which is making markets uneven and unsteady, not just a UK feature, a global feature, but certainly that's hitting us here. On Friday, we got data from the Office for National Statistics looking at UK government borrowing, and even though it came in lower than economists had forecast, it is still quite high. So in the month of September, the British government borrowed £14.3 billion in just 1 month. It was £1.6 billion less than what we borrowed this time last year. And I think that's due to the fact that lots of the government buffers that were put in place to prevent bills from getting higher have been pulled back. So we're not getting that support this year. However, of course, interest rates are eye-wateringly high. Interest rates in the UK at the moment, 5.25%. The Bank of England are doing that to try and bring down inflation. But of course, high interest rates mean it costs more to borrow, which is why government borrowing is so high. There was a response from Jeremy Chancellor over the weekend, basically saying that it is unsustainable. And of course, the government cannot afford to be paying so much on their tax receipts. On top of that, we are seeing bond yields high. So a 30-year bond yield reached 5.16%. A 10-year bond yield reached 4.69%. And we know that government use bonds to try and borrow money to basically maintain the government. So it's becoming unaffordable, unsustainable. Of course, those are the kind of sentiments you told us were coming out of the IMF. So it's not just a UK feature. This is a global feature, but certainly £14.3 billion for just 1 month. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money. And in spite of this, we hear the UK is planning to host thousands of Gaza refugees. I mean, I thought the economy was squeezed already.
Yeah, the economy is squeezed, and I've got to tell you, this is very much just an open letter that charities such as the Refugee Council and Safe Passage International have written to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and it all really stemmed from the Scotland First Minister, Humza Yousaf. Of course, he took over from Nicola Sturgeon when she was ousted due to some of the issues she was having. Humza Yousaf's wife is actually Palestinian, and I do believe that her family are part of, hundreds of thousands of people currently caught up in the war between Israel and Hamas. We do know that, of course, I believe over 20 trucks carrying aid were allowed to enter the area through the Rafah crossing. So what we're expecting today is for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak to update MPs in the House of Commons about his regional trip alongside James Cleverly, where he was meeting leaders in the region, basically to say that he stands shoulder to shoulder with Israel, but then also offer support to the Palestinians, the innocent Palestinians who are caught up in this issue. So in terms of what happens with offering a refugee visa, which are some of the suggestions that have been made by this cohort of charities, also saying that there should be an emergency family program. I've got to tell you, that is very unlikely to happen in this country, even with the offer of refugee support for Ukrainians. It did take quite a while for Priti Patel, who was then the Home Secretary, to start that off. There are several wars going on across the world, and Britain have got their doors firmly shut. I think the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, is more focused on some of the jihad sentiments that have been jeered from London streets during pro-Palestinian protests than she would be about offering support. But just briefly before we go, there was a phone conversation this morning, between Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau, the President of Canada, the Prime Minister of Canada, President Emmanuel Macron, Olaf Scholz of Germany, the Italian Prime Minister, and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And the phone conversation was primarily about what they are going to be doing to support the Palestinians. So now the rhetoric has changed slightly. The West are starting to see this awful humanitarian disaster unraveling in front of the world's eyes in Palestine. So yes, whilst they stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel, making sure that these innocent civilians are taken care of is their top priority. However, offering some sort of safe passage for those in Gaza to the UK is incredibly unlikely.
Yeah, well, the world has to deal with a whole lot, discussing higher for longer, inflation, and now, wheat and all of that coming from Russia and Ukraine, and now this. Which country can handle all of it? But thank you so much, Juliana. Of course, we'll have more on this and others at 1:30 during Business Incorporated.
Thanks, Ine.
All right, now let's change from London to crypto. I'm sure that's what you have behind me. There you have it. It's crypto time. And when it's crypto time, well, when it's not Friday, Laddie Williams comes in to take his place. Laddie, it's up to you now with a green-looking market, I see.
Quite a green market.
Congratulations, Laddie. Even though I don't know how much of this goes into your pocket.
Nothing, actually.
But congratulations anyway.
Yeah, to the investors. Those are invested right now. They had fun over the weekend.
Yeah.
Talking about the crypto market, we see it's all green. There were just a few pockets of red right there in the market. If you look at the sentiment this morning, we see it's 53 points, showing that traders are still quite neutral, even though we have a very bullish market. But this is an improvement compared to what we've had for the past couple of weeks now. Let's look at the top cryptocurrencies we track now. We see Bitcoin holding up there above that 30,000 level, 30,768, up 2.13% this morning. Ethereum also breaking that $1,600 resistance zone, staying above it, 2.93%, about 3% up. And we see BNB, that's a native coin for the Binance cryptocurrency exchange. They're $221 at 8 a.m. this morning, also up 2.5. So we're seeing a lot of 2% jumps this morning. Just Cardano doing a 1.59%, and XRP holding above 52 cents. 0.02 marginal increase what we had this morning. So we're seeing XRP, even though with the whole US SEC wins they're having at this point, still hovering around this 50 cent level. Let's bring in Gilbert Jopata now, financial market analyst. Great to have you, Gilbert. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Laddie. Great to be here.
Yeah, so very green weekend for crypto investors, but it seems what's sparking all this bullish sentiment right now is all about the Bitcoin ETF. So I'm wondering, what if they don't get a Bitcoin spot ETF? Does this all go down?
If you look at the number of institutions applying for Bitcoin ETF, It includes the likes of BlackRock, Fidelity, ARK Invest, and the rest. And these are big and major institutions that have a level of control, a level of control and influence as well in the marketplace. So I think moments from now, and if we don't have any Bitcoin ETF approval, yes, we are going to have these smaller institutions that have applied, pour out their public opinions and sentiments out there. But we won't see the likes of BlackRock pour out there because, they are big and major persons. They have a way of reserving their sentiments. But at the end of the day, when you see the likes of BlackRock, Fidelity, or filing for Bitcoin ETF, you will know that at the end of the day, we are going to have a Bitcoin ETF.
Right. Gilbert, I don't know if you can hear me, but I think I lost you for a moment there. Gilbert, tell us about what happens if we don't get an ETF, Bitcoin spot ETF. Let's try and get Gilbert back again. All right, we'll try and get Gilbert back, but he was basically trying to say that there are a lot of ETFs, coming at this time. Gilbert, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, I lost you for a moment there, but you can conclude your thought.
Okay, what I was saying is if we don't have a Bitcoin ETF approval any moment from now, we are going to see this smaller institution vent out their public opinion out there, unlike maybe BlackRock, Fidelity, and the rest, because these are major institutions. But at the end of the day, when you see institutions like BlackRock, Fidelity filing for Bitcoin ETF, these persons have influence in the market and they will know how to lobby their way around. I think at the end of the day, we are going to have a Bitcoin ETF approval, but if are there possibilities that there may be delay? Yes, I think there can be a delay, and what will happen is we'll see this smaller institution vent out their public opinion out there, and then we will have more of a public opinion through social media, have a way of driving the SEC to look bad. But at the end of the day, when BlackRock is involved, we will still see a Bitcoin ETF approval at the end of the day.
And there's still that argument about the market, being in a bull market right now. Some say it's not a bull market. But do you think it's this ETF story that's going to rally this market to what some investors are expecting?
Okay, interestingly enough, when we are trying to assess the market, if it has bottomed or not, if we are in a bull market or a bear market, these are probability-based assessments of the market. But yes, there is a science to it. I am of the school of thought that we have bottomed. I really believe the 16, I think, key level was actually the bottom of the market. This does not mean I'm not still expecting some downside as well to come into the marketplace. But there are a couple of things that will actually drive us into what I will regard as the typical runway bull run. One is that the market has not had an independent driver, over a period of time. The independent drive, what drive the market all this while have been macroeconomics. And why macroeconomics is becoming friendly, two major things that I know will become independent drivers in the cryptocurrency market. One will be the Bitcoin halving, which will be coming. The second will be the ETF approval. You could see when the tweet came out from Cointelegraph that Bitcoin ETF was approved, even though that was fake, you could see the sentiments that drove in the market. We saw how price moved, and the market technically even formed a cup and handle technically. And if that news was real, I think that would have broken us into the typical runway bull market. So why I still believe that we are about having an independent driver. Yes, the Bitcoin ETF is one. The second will be the Bitcoin halving, which is coming. This will lead us into a typical runway bull market.
Right. And it's a brand new week. What are you expecting? Any market moving data? I know we're expecting a lot of earnings, coming out from the big U.S. companies and some of those tech from the Nasdaq, the tech-heavy Nasdaq. So what are you expecting is going to drive sentiment for the crypto market this week?
Okay, first of all, investor sentiment is healthy right now. They are excited, seeing greens all over the marketplace. And technically, when you look, the market really looks bullish. But there are certain levels we should look out for, 32, 33K. That really seems like a resistance that need to be broken. And if we break that 32, 33K, then we may see a more movement to the upside. But yet I'm cautious. I'm very cautious for Thursday. We are expecting some data from the US. which we include where we could try to price in sentiments of the Fed's share. We're also looking at GDP reports to see how strong the US economy is, and also the consumption expenditure data as well. But this is making some market watchers to be cautious, because if there are sentiment from the Fed's share, if we are going to have another interest rate hike, then this may drive us a little bit negatively. But overall, the market look positive and healthy. We may have some rally, but yet two things we should be cautious of. We have a resistance to break that 32, 33K. The second thing we should watch out for sentiment from the Fed's share, so we know if there will be interest rates. So while you drive the green, you should be cautious and manage risks accordingly.
Yeah, cautious optimism. Thank you so much. So much data to look out for this week. Thank you, Gilbert Japata, financial market analyst. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so look at the top gainers there. We see chain link there, topping the counter this morning, $10.67, 11.63%. The only double-digit gain we have this morning. And Phantom, DAG, blockchain infrastructure there, back on the top gainers counter, 22 cents, 9.96%. And we see also Matic. So the favorites there are on the top gainers list this morning, 62 cents for Matic, 8.04%. And Aave, also one of the big DeFi protocols in the crypto market, there, $84.09, 8.02% up. We look at the top losers counter. We'll see the top losers counter. We'll see who's topping this morning. Bitcoin SV, $52.32. 6.19%. So no double-digit losses for the top 100 coins that we track in this market. So there you have it. A lot of data to look out for this week that will drive sentiment in the crypto market. But who knows if they're going to break all those resistance zones that Gilbert actually mentioned.
Yeah, it's a long journey. After all, today is Monday. So
yeah, it's just Monday.
Follow the market and reports.
Follow the market.
Thank you, Ladi. See you at 1:30.
All right.
All right, so that's it on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of this very first 55 minutes. I hope it was worth your time. Once again, the issue of financial inclusion topped conversation, what it can do, what it is doing, and if you contribute, what it could do. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Ladi Williams will be back at 1:30 to give you an update from the world of business. I'll see you at 10 p.m., the stock market report. I hope it will be the bull, but we'll see. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Enjoy the rest of your day.